Paladin, Mage, Warlock. I mean, it wasn't completely one-sided. I mean, of course, nLite now is in the lower bracket, and so ABC's got to be feeling pretty confident with this matchup. But I feel like nLite, they had, a bit of a growth spurt from that last series that they played. So I think this isn't going to be, a free win for ABC. I think nLite definitely has a shot here, definitely learning some of those lessons from their last series, and they'll be able to implement that against ABC. And maybe ABC doesn't really have too much practice in this matchup, and we'll see. We'll see how they play it out.
Is Alec running the Mechanome?
Nope.
Alright, well, Dwarf is still really good, though. You remove all the bleeds, you get a little bit of damage reduction, so I feel like Dwarf isn't really a bad pickup either. I guess you can't use it when you're stunned, so maybe if you get Drestigath dropped, that could be the major difference for Alec. It seems like a minor one, like a Mechanome racial, but having that ability to get an extra shield when you get bursted down might actually be the difference if nLite can find victory, because they were going for that Drestigath burst. Alec has been taking a lot of damage throughout here, trying to blink for a polymorph. Zuniaki ports to avoid it. Asgrath pushes forward to try and connect a big heal, and he does land it. Cassidy ducks for cover. They're avoiding Walrix on that Dark Soul, waiting for it to fade, and then as soon as it has, they're likely to make another push here onto Alec. The Hyena got left out in midfield, though, and oh, poor guy. And Facile's going to need to try and get his Hyena back into the fight. He's counterspelled at the moment, but he's going for a Revive Pet again. Alright, Hyena is going to be joining the fight, charging down Alec. Alec just boldly blinks in. Very aggressive play here from ABC.
Alec actually doing a pretty decent job there securing the poly, but they didn't really have the damage due to that pre-cocoon, but still activating that big combustion right there onto Facile, doing decent amount of damage here. You see Alec now, though, on the receiving end here, taking a lot of damage. Trap onto Asgraf here, potentially nice Mortal Coil, should shut it down, should allow Asgraf to freedom himself, and he does, and now Warwick should be able to cleanse that trap, but Alex still taking a lot of damage there. Sacrifice might have to come out, not going to be needed just yet, potentially. Asgraf still kind of gambling with his mage's life right now. Divine Favor comes out, and he could still actually have to use it. Sacrifice should for sure trade out, and there it is. Asgraf really greeting it right there, but I think Alex should be able to stabilize here as he snipes a polymorph and looks to get aggressive here, Ben.
Yeah, but nLite's been looking really good in this series so far. In this matchup, Alex been on the back foot. Barely holding on to his Cauterize for quite some time. Greedy plays from ABC, but they're reversing the pressure here onto Cassidy. Full Fear onto Zuniaki. Double Dragon's Breath comes in from Alec, just trying to slow down the offense a little bit. And he finds another polymorph, unfortunately not able to. And Zuniaki gets out of the crowd control. This team is all 100% health. Full Hammer of Justice on Cassidy, though. But Alec in a stun, they're not going to be able to, really utilize that stun. Putting a little damage onto Zuniaki right now, but he rolls away and will be completely fine.
Alec is also not wearing a Maledict. No Maledict. Gello is wearing that. Very important when Cassidy dipped low on health. It seems like ABC in general are struggling at the moment, both aggressively and defensively. Maybe it's the playstyle. They're playing a lot more on top of Zuniaki. Nice freedom there on the freezing trap. The imp should guarantee a dispel, and it will. Beautiful play by Asgrath. Zuniaki's in a fear. Facile could be in trouble. Stun locked out in center field. Immediately feign deathing, but Mortal Coil catches him. Chaos Bolts are flying. He ducks around the corner with Exhilaration for a little heal, but if Alec blinks in here, it might be scary. Choosing not to, holding onto the combustion. nLite recover at the pillar. Dark Soul available. Walrus waiting to pull the trigger on that. Doesn't even look like he needs it. Almost powering Cassidy over, seemingly out of nowhere. Life Cocoon going to trade, but now Dark Soul is even more threatening.
Yeah, but Cassidy is going to have a Trinket and a Survival Instinct, so for the foreseeable future, he should be okay, but he can't be making mistakes like that. In one of the games, that's what got him killed. That's one of the reasons they were sent down to the lower bracket here. Alec has been doing a great job as well, just playing offense, landing these sheeps, but I want to see him kind of just pull back, try to drag them out here for a second. Don't take too much damage. He's going for the Greater Pyroblast, gets kicked by Cassidy. Nice fear there by Warwick. Try to allow Alec there to get the cast without being kicked, but unfortunately didn't go off in time. Going for a new Greater Pyro. This one is going to connect. Asgraf now looking for the Hammer of Justice. Is he going for Cassidy or for Zuni with that one? I want to see it on Zuni. He's not going to be able to find it on either target. Instead, he's going to turn back and try to get it onto Facile. Out of range for Dispel for Zuni, and that's going to force him to go out in the open. But Warwick's with, honestly, one of the worst coils I've ever seen right there, putting Zuni on full poly DR in that push.
Ooh, big damage on Alec. Cassidy and Facile really looking to push forward here. Get the paralyze onto Asgrath. Good setup here by Zuniaki. Is there going to be a leg sweep to follow it up? There is. Temporal Shield. Might be enough for Alec to hold on to that cauterize, but they're just surely pushing through slowly, trying to get that cooldown from Alec. Unfortunately, they cannot, and now it's going to be Cassidy running away once again. 5 minutes have elapsed in the game. We are just entering dampening. One Chaos Bolt lands on a Zuniaki as he uses his Transcendence to get away. I noticed Walrix, he's actually playing Vision of Perfection this game, so maybe anticipating that nLite's going to be looking to line of sight quite a bit, and those Infernals might be able to push through, get that consistent damage out, and not allow nLite to fully recover, especially as dampening gets higher.
Yeah, Walrix trying to maintain the Immolate on as many targets as possible, max out that Flashpoint Azerite trait, giving him a lot of haste. He's still opting to play full versatility though, but no one really playing anything outside of the box. Gushing Wounds for Facile, Gushing Wounds for Cassidy as well. Zuniaki going to need to make sure he's utilizing that Crackling Jade Lightning. 5% extra damage on a Drestigath is quite a lot, and that's going to be the big power points for nLite. Cassidy gets intercepted on his way back, but dispelled instantly from Zuni. Going to duck around the corner here as Dark Soul's available. Now, as nLite retreat, Asgrath should drink, so see if he gets into a position where he can do that. Zuniaki rolls out into midfield. They want to stop the drink, but now he gets locked down in a polymorph. They don't stop the drink. Things could spiral out of control here for nLite. Facile the target. Lingering Psychic Shell going to activate. Zuni gets out of the crowd control. There's that Crackle getting that Mystic Touch up onto Alec. Asgrath stunned. Walrix stunned. They could switch to the Warlock, but not enough dampening really to get too much done. They're just stunning Dark Soul, retreating away with Ring of Peace, bouncing Alec away from the pillar. Walrix moves in on the left. Alec taking a pause on the right, looking to surround nLite. Asgrath wants to move in. Hammer of Justice could be a big swap over to Zuniaki. Huge damage! Zuniaki immediately responding with a trinket into Life Cocoon, absorbing the hit and soaking the potential kill. Cassidy could get swapped to though. Chaos Bolts are flying. Pre-Survival Instincts right before that Mortal Coil. Nicely played by Cassidy, but Zuni's still in a polymorph. Cassidy's in trouble. Lingering Psychic Shell. Running away, healing himself back up. Facile could get swapped to now. They managed to survive the Dark Soul. They survived the Combustion. They could swap to Zuni again. They stun him. Greater Pyro? Is Cassidy going to be able to find the interrupt? Nope, a bash instead. They save Zuni once again.
Beautiful setup there, though. And right now, ABC are kind of just getting a little bit more and more comfortable here. They got Zuni's Trinket, so there is going to be a kill window there when Alec has his combustion up. The only thing that could save Zuni in a situation like that is that Roar of Sacrifice from the pet. So if they can get anything on the pet, a Ring of Frost, anything like that, they can Hammer of Justice Zuni and absolutely take him down 100-0 in like a Mortal Coil, Infernal Stun type of setup with the Hammer of Justice. But right now they're going after Cassidy once again. Only one shield wall available. Gets Hammer of Justice. Does get dispelled. But Zuni now in a full fear into a full sheep here potentially. Alex gonna cancel it here. Not gonna be able to go for it. Maybe it was still on DR. I'm not sure. Alec though looking for the Greater Pyro. Not gonna be able to find it. Looking to try to set up some CC. If they can get a poly or a fear onto Zuni and then set up out of that one, you can see Zuni there thought he was going to get caught up in a polymorph, pre-cocoon himself, but unfortunately for him, that's not going to give him too much value. He did get the Hammer of Justice with it, and he's going to have his trinket back up, so not the worst exchange, but now all of a sudden Cassidy is a much better target here for ABC.
Yep, and Alex still getting trained down. They're really shutting him down. Asgrath getting caught into a trap. Are we going to see an Imp Dispel? We do. Now Walrus going back to the Fell Hunter. That's one thing I see Walrus do a lot more than other Warlocks is he kind of rotates between his two pets. Big push here on Zuniaki. The preemptive Fortifying Brew. Zuniaki knew exactly what was up, and he got the Fortifying Brew off, and that will keep him alive. Nice setup there by ABC, but a little bit too telegraphed, and Zuniaki was able to easily survive. And now it's Alec on the back foot, paralyzed on Asgarath, but there is a Blessing and Protection. There is, of course, they'll sacrifice as well, and that will trade to keep Alec alive, and that's one of the disadvantages of the Mistweaver Monk is you don't have that offensive dispel. So if they do get the Blessing and Protection, they do get the sacrifice, those are going to sit full, and unfortunately for nLite, they can't really push through those defensive cooldowns. They just have to slowly work through them.
Big double dress there. They get the Cauterize. They're pushing through Temporal. They're looking for an Ice Block. Temporal triggers. Asgrath is still stunned up. They leap over. Big Ferocious Bite. Ice Block to respect. Alec is very far behind on cooldowns at a critical point in the game where Blank Pick could decide the series as it'll bounce between large map and small map for the remainder of the series. ABC need to keep their composure, but there's actually so much defense for them to still work through, with Cassidy having Gliders Medallion, Zuniaki as well. They go for a Hammer of Justice while Zuni doesn't have Dispel to try and crack through some of the defense. Life Cocoon, more than a fair trade here, but Greater Pyros are slipping through. 1 Greater Pyro, 2 Greater Pyros. Cassidy needs to run for the hills, ducking behind the pillar with Zuniaki. Now Facile trying to get to their side as well. Intercepted by some Vision of Perfection Infernals. At the same time, they still want to be aggressive. They're waiting for that double Drestigath to come off cooldown. Asgrath needs to have his finger on the trigger for that Blessing of Protection. He's charging in for a Hammer of Justice as Cassidy retreats away. He's not able to get in range. Now going for Facile instead. Cassidy jumps out into midfield, interrupts the Greater Pyro to back Facile up. Zuni now into a half fear. I don't think that's enough crowd control to get too much going here. It's going to be Alec who's in trouble. Zuni rolls up for the Paralyze. Alec gets blasted by a double dressed. Asgrath has to break out. Trade Sacrifice once again, redirecting damage to himself. They're just attacking into the Sacrifice. They don't care. Maybe they're even going to switch to Asgrath. Cassidy gets to jump out of midfield as Zuniaki's caught in a stun. nLite are bouncing between defense and offense so seamlessly here in game number 1. They hold a huge lead and may be able to win against overwhelming odds.
Yeah, they got the trinket there from Asgraf with that push. They also have already forced the Card Ice and the Ice Block, and they have all of their CDs and that mana lead. So if the Mage Lock is going to win, it's going to be at the back of a big one-shot. Potentially, if they can get, a couple of Greater Pyros laid into dampening, that could be a way for them to close out the match. Right now, though, it's all about the jungle. They still have Asgraf's cooldowns, though, on the side of ABC to fall back on. I assume the next time it might just be the bubble right here. If they can get a freezing trap, they might be able to dispel it. I don't see an entangling route there, and they will be able to dispel that one. Zuni and Apolly gets repulled, and here is Shadow Fury into big damage, but Zuni able to port away before that Shadow Fury connects. He's gonna save him. That was Warwick's Dark Soul as well. So a lot of offense here being expended on the side of ABC. And I gotta say, for Warwick's, I don't like that he is using Infernals and Dark Soul at the same time. I think it's much better to try to space them out. You use Dark Soul one time when the jungle pushes, and then you use the Infernals the next time they push to try to cancel out the offense there. But we're gonna see a Hammer of Justice onto Zuni.
Oh,
be able to connect 2 Chaos Bolts.
It's just like, that's what can happen. I mean, the game was looking the game was looking good for nLite. It really was. But at any moment, a Destro Warlock, they can just land 2 Chaos Bolts. Before you even know what happened, you're just dead. And that's what we saw in game number 1. And yeah, I mean, nLite's got to be very frustrated by that one.
You yelled so loud at the end, though, Zico. I think I heard your room echoing.
Yeah, my window started vibrating. I was so disappointed to see that happen. They played so well. They played it out, with their hearts. But then that's the annoying thing, You just lose focus for 1 second. 2 Chaos Bolt sneaks in, with the cast time of a rank 1 Frostbolt in Classic, and boom, you're dead.
I feel like, though, nLite did do quite a bit better than the last time we saw them face off against Magelock. What do you think, Supatees?
I think they were going to win. Zuniaki he could have triggered Life Cocooned. He had the option. I don't even think he needed to trinket. I think he could have just Life Cocooned. He got out of the stuns, and the Chaos Bolt just wrapped around the corner. So it's one of those things where they were winning and they were in the lead, but it's at a result of playing at such a high level consistently over such a long game. Eventually, you're gonna slip, and if you slip once, you're dead against Mage Locks. So they already played a really long and taxing series. So going into this one, I'm not surprised to see just gets caught off guard, left field Chaos Bolt. It's so challenging for nLite overall.
Well, nLite and ABC picking their comp choices now. Then, do you think though that nLite is gonna? I mean, like Supatees was saying, they looked pretty solid in that first game here. I feel like they're probably gonna play the same comps again on both sides. What do you think, Ben?
Honestly, I do think there is a chance we go to a small map and they try to go for the priest play. I mean, didn't look that bad for them when they played it against AWC. That was absolutely their best game. So trying to recreate that, especially if they know what they're locking in blind. So if they go to the small map and it is exactly what we just saw, the Mage lock Paladin, then I think going with the Priest again and trying that is definitely a solid option for them. Or they could just try, honestly, they could try the exact same thing, because that game was looking extremely good for nLite. ABC, they always had a defensive cooldown, but it seemed like slowly but surely nLite, they were getting those cooldowns. ABC really kind of struggled to find momentum, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you have more momentum. It's about who ends up scoring the first kill, and ABC was able to do that, and that's what can happen when you play against a Fire Mage, you play against a Destruction Warlock. All they need is one good setup, and it's game over.
And they did lock in Dalaran. ABC now on their composition choice here, looking to see what they will do here in this game too, Stupities. And the thing, we talked about this last week when we saw an nLite on that jungle. They have the versatility of either going Disc Priest or Mistweaver. Talk about the differences we see here with those two healer comps, what they can do based on the map choice, and how they can sort of alter what they want to choose based on the situation.
Priests don't move very fast. Monks move very fast. So a big map where you need to move a lot, Priest isn't going to have a great time. Small map where you can move a lot, Priest can have a good time. So, and like going to Dalaran Sewers, which is a small map, they don't have to do Priest. I mean, the Monk was looking good for them. Again, I think I made the assessment when they did switch to Priest. I was like, this looks exactly the same as Monk, except they're out of mana. I mean, they won, but I think they could have still won even if they had Monk too, with the way that the game played out. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they just kept Zuni on Monk overall, because it feels about roughly the same. Maybe they switch because they think ABC isn't as good defensively. I mean, there was a few cracks early on in the game. I feel like they got cauterized like well before dampening, which is like a rare occasion. So the only reason I would think they're going to switch to Priest is if they think ABC isn't as competent as AWC.
So do you watch The Office?
Do I watch The Office? I think you asked this before, and I said
okay.
no.
Does anyone?
Maybe
Does anyone
some
here?
of it.
I only watched The Good Office, aka the one from UK.
No one?
Wow. No, I don't.
All right, well, I'm going to make this reference to chat. I feel like Supatees
Someone in
is
chat
like
has, yeah.
the caster version of Kevin. You're like, why say lot word when few word do trick?
Wait, what? I don't know what. What did they say?
You're the caster version of Kevin.
What?
I don't know who that is.
That's the...
The Office Kevin.
You can look up.
He's like the chubby, balding guy, right?
That's not what I mean, though.
Okay,
I'll have to link you. I'll have to link you the scene to show you what I'm referencing, but it just, the way you answer sometimes, it's like so abbreviated, and I'm just like, man, here we go again, answering one of my questions with these really short word sentences, but
I like to keep it simple, you don't need to I don't need to be a scientist to explain things, just he's stunned, he dies.
You need a PhD to explain what's going on in some of these matchups.
Like, Zika's like, they have sack, they have cauterized, they have block, they have divine shield still. I'm like, they still have everything.
Subtease just priest run fast. Or
priest
don't run
No,
fast.
you got that wrong. See, I even said it small, you got it wrong. I said priest don't run fast. See, if I had said too many words, then it might have got confusing.
You're right, thank you. Thank you for abbreviating that for me. I would have gotten confused. Okay, well, nLite locking in their composition choice, going once again on that jungle cleave here, opting for the Mistweaver. ABC again on that lock, that mage lock composition here. Ven, what do we think about this comp? What can we expect from this game? Do we think that they should have played Mistweaver? Let's talk about this.
Well, they actually are going to. Yeah, for nLite, they're going to be locking in the Mistweaver Monk, and like I said, there is the option that they could have gone with the Discipline Priest, but I don't think it's really needed. It seemed like they were pretty comfortable in that matchup, and I think as long as they can avoid those one-shots, those surprise, double Chaos Bolts flying in out of nowhere, it seemed like nLite, they had a solid game plan. ABC defensively wasn't looking as sharp as AWC was, but I mean, maybe they're also just getting used to this matchup. This might be one of those things where ABC hasn't really played this comp that often, specifically with a Paladin, so they're kind of just bringing in the Paladin. It looked good when AWC did it. We're going to try it too. They ended up getting a win narrowly on game number 1. And it might be one of these things where also ABC makes some improvements in this match, and then it keeps going in favor of ABC. But for nLite, definitely wouldn't count them out yet, but this is definitely a really difficult matchup for them.
It really is, but we've seen nLite turn around from situations such as these before. ABC versus nLite. ABC up 1-0 here on game 2.
Why say lot when few word do trick? You think I talk like that?
Yeah. That's why I made the reference.
Wow.
Wow.
Was that too hard?
This is
Was
one of
it
the-
too mean?
I just want to drag this
you know
back
what?
to.
This is one of the rare times where I'm going to defend Super T's, alright?
This
Yes.
is one of the rare
There's
times
questions
where I'm
like
gonna
that
defend.
sometimes.
Wow.
I'm sorry, but I just gotta defend the fact that you guys like the UK office is the best office.
I think the
Is there a Kevin in the UK office?
No, there's a Gareth, and he's much cooler. All right, so game started. Big stakes right now. nLite versus ABC. Loser of this series gets knocked out. We won't be seeing either of them until the circuit a little bit later on. Asgarath, 3 freedoms, the trap. And I think Cassidy's just going to go for a restuff here, looking to maybe pounce here onto Alec. No, he's going to pick Warwick as his target. Full counterspell secured onto Zuni. Let's see what they can do with this. Doesn't look like they're going to have any follow-up. Would have maybe liked to see Asgarath. Actually, he doesn't have Hammer of Justice. He couldn't have done anything. So, you know, just standard defense so far from both teams. No one really pulling ahead just yet.
All right, well, let's see. Alec once again looked for greater power blasts, and he will get shut down on that. But as we saw in the last game, I mean, Warwick and Alec, they can get shut down basically all day. But as long as they get a few off later on in the game, it can easily just be the end of the game. And once again, it is going to be a paralyze onto Warwick. Zuniaki positioned very defensively right now. Maybe gets caught into a fear. Warwick gets caught into the leg sweep, and Zuniaki defends his pillar and is able to maintain his position. Walrick, unfortunately, not going to be able to land a fear just yet, but big Chaos Bolts coming in to Facile. And now Facile and Cassidy, they have to be careful. Zuniaki gets some big heals out, but, you know, the Blink counterspell coming in from Alec could definitely turn the tide in favor of ABC if they can get that crowd control. And it looks like ABC will be pushing in. Hammer of Justice onto Zuniaki, but look at how far away Alec is right now. Didn't have any mobility to move in and actually follow up on that push, and that just looked a little bit sloppy.
All right. A little bit sloppy here, but still likely going to be dampening between the teams. So mistakes can afford to be made this early on. Even if they trade something like a Cauterizer and Ice Block, the game is likely to last until it will be available again. They are trying to go for some surprise damage on Alec. Facile leaps over to bait the Freedom. I love these baits by Facile. He basically has to wait until Freedom was used. He has to see if a sacrifice is going to be used. But now he's stunned out in the middle of nowhere, and he might just be dead. Okay, that's what I mean. It's usually safer to just stay on the pillar, wait for dampening. He has to trade out his most valuable cooldown to survive that attack. Now they're swapping to Zuni for a moment, but Cassidy stuns Alec. I don't see him going down with the amount of damage remaining, porting back down below. And nLite, they're still going to be going after Walrix, but any greater Pyro slips through, any Chaos Bolts could be deadly for Facile. One Chaos Bolt found there. Zuni tops him off. Greater Pyro in the back line. I would like to see Asgarath just drink. Even though he's not super far behind on mana, why not? I mean, nLite are giving you the chance right now, and I think that's what he's going for. See how much mana he can get back. What is killing Walrix? Like, he's just dying there. There's literally nothing hitting Walrix right
Gushing
now.
wound.
Is it just...
It looks good.
It is just gushing, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So what Facile is doing is he's stacking up his latent poison to 10 stacks, and then he can basically destroy them. And that is also proccing his gushing wound, so that's something he does. He stays at the pillar, stacks up all of his damage, and then when they have 10 stacks and a gushing, they go for the CC chain, and he can do a big hit, just passively, essentially. And that's one thing that nLite in general are really good at. They always try to soften up the target a little bit, get them a little low, and then go for the CC chain. And if the CC chain sticks, it's going to be a big go that forces a lot of CDs. But right now, they're not able to force very many of these cooldowns because they're just covering for their lives behind that pillar. Zuniaki taking a little bit of damage there, activating the Vitality Conduit. Warwick's now getting pushed back, and this is what I mean. Before the trap even lands, Warwick is in super low HP here. Ascraft surely is going to have to use something, but beautiful defense here from Alex. Sheeping Facile, denying the trap, and a fear onto Cassidy is going to allow them to recover without having to use a single cooldown. But that's exactly what nLite wants to do. They want to get somebody low, then they want to Entangling Root trap, not lose the 50-50 to the RNG on the imp, and then potentially they can force Unending Resolve, Ice Block, things like that.
Oh.
Big damage on Zuniaki with the combustion, but didn't really do anything. Zuniaki's going to be fine. I mean, it looks scary, but ultimately Alec just didn't have the damage to push him over. Decent offensive push. Now an interrupt on Zuniaki. Good counterspell there by Alec, but once again, I mean, Facile, Cassidy, Zuniaki, they're all going to be pushing behind the pillar, able to avoid a lot of that damage. Infernals actually drop down. Walrick looking for a big one-shot once again. He has the Mortal Coil. If he can get a big Mortal Coil into a big Chaos Bolt, it could be devastating for nLite. And he do it. Hammer of Justice on Zuniaki. Cassidy, that Mortal Coil is super unfortunate for the team of AWC. It brings him immediately around the pillar as if he was controlling his own character. Unfortunate, but looks like nLite will be able to hold on despite the Infernals and the Dark Soul and the Mortal Coil. Really nothing was traded out by nLite.
Let's see if they can keep up these trades now that dampening has started. They've initiated crowd control. They're swapping to Walrick's. Big damage onto him. He gates, but he gates far away from Askarath. He has to use Sacrifice. They do hold on to Unending Resolve. Facile back at the pillar. I like the strat of just keep Serpent Sting up and let Gushing Winds do damage. Zuniaki gets caught out in midfield. Almost gets eradicated. Able to Transcendence downstairs. They're spending even a second out in the open, and ABC looked to just knock him out. Cassidy running on the bottom side, trying to avoid Greater Pyro, get back to the boxes, push Alec back. Mana looks good for both sides at this point. No significant advantage there moving into dampening. Ring of Frost on the box, making it annoying for nLite to move around it, but looks like they're happy to just tank the hit of that crowd control. Walrick's moving in on the right, Alec on the left, trying to pincer nLite and get as much damage out as they can if nLite continue to turtle. Gunning down Walrick's. Ring of Peace interrupts the poly. Now Polymorph's on Facile. Zuni dispels him. Alec blinks over to try and catch Zuni. Zuni's not going to get caught. The Hammer of Justice Facile. Chaos Bolt, Meteor. Big combo. Lingering Psychic Shell. Oh, they cracked the Lingering Psychic Shell. Full Polymorph. Facile needs to run. Double Shadow Fury. Alec still pushing forward. Nice Polymorph on the Cataclysm that broke it, but now Alec is going to have to retreat away from this position. It's not advantageous for him to stand right on top of a Hunter here on the box, but they're actually switching to Walrick's. I think they've realized Walrick's is not running Conflict in Strife. He's running that Vision of Perfection, so in a stun, he takes way more damage than Alec, and Alec is running Conflict.
Oh, so what they're doing right now on the side of nLite is they want to get pressure onto Alec and Warwick's, and whoever gets low first is the guy that they're going to go for during the trap. Right now, it seems to be Alec, but Asgraf has his wings up, so he's able to kind of deflect that split pressure. And instead, they're looking to reverse on its head. Alec gets a polymorph with Zuni with a beautiful preemptive life cocoon, but that means Cassidy or Zuni could potentially be a target. Now, the chain is going to drop. Alec taking too much damage. Going to have to go back, and you can see Facile's once again ducking in and out, applying his poison over and over again, getting those gushing procs. And I suspect them to try to do that to Warwick soon, see if they can get anything. Look at Facile is literally playing an Affliction Warlock, dotting everybody, just trying to get a proc, and they get it onto Alec. No freezing trap though, and Temporal Shield is going to be enough with those heals from the Paladin to send nLite back behind the pillar. You can see Asgrath now looking for a drink, and you can expect Alec and Warwick. You can see that little pig getting feared there into a polymorph. That's to allow Asgrath to drink, and now nLite pushing out to stop that drink and to keep their pressure. This could be big trouble here, man.
Oh, I mean, there's no question about it. We'll see. 20% dampening at this point of the game, and both these healers are relatively even on mana. Big Chaos Bolt lands. Balrix, he basically one-shot Zuniaki in the last match, and he's going to be looking to do that once again, and that's the threat. I mean, if you go after Alec too much, I mean, sure, you're shutting down the Greater Pyroblast, but Walrix is left open to kind of set up the game, but it's one of those situations where you have to pick your poison, and they're going to be dealing with the Destruction Warlock and trying to shut down the Mage, and that's what they've been doing in this game, but they could actually go after Walrix as well. Like we said, Walrix, you know, not playing the most defensive build, so susceptible to a big all-in. Counterspell, absolutely massive damage onto Cassidy. They almost take him out. That's the Trinket Survival, Instinct, Life Cocoon, big overlap, but honestly necessary. How much? That was insane damage. I can't believe it. Cassidy went 110% in just a matter of moments. And ABC, I mean, they are really finding this big one-shot burst.
Big opening here for ABC. If they can stay on target here and chase down Cassidy. Zuniaki's in a polymorph. This is perfect. If they can Mortal Coil Cassidy off the pillar, Walrik's not in position. They drop a Ring of Frost, locking Zuni in place and also allowing them to push on top of Cassidy and Facile. They could swap to Zuni. Infernal Stun into Shadow Fury. Cassidy rolls back to try and help him, but he just walks into his own death. He's on 10%, but Vitality Conduit is going to allow him to pull back into the fight. Alec retreats. They got the Gladiator's Medallion of Zuniaki. That's all they really wanted to come in there for, if not the kill. Now, with no Gladiator's Medallion on either player, if crowd control is secured, it's surely certain death for Cassidy.
Yeah, and Asgraf was actually drinking during that near-death experience that Cassidy just had. So he's going to have a full mana bar. He has his Avenging Crusader active and Avenging Wrath, sorry. He's going to get a full trap here. Do they have an Imp Dispel Warwicks? Not going to be able to find... I think it broke from something there. I'm not sure. They do, however, secure, their HPs here. Asgraf out of crowd control. Zuni, preemptive Fort Brew on that Hammer of Justice there as well. And now, once again, they have them in that pincer chokehold. And now it's up to Facile and Cassidy. Try to get damage rolling on Alec or Warwick. But by the time that next Freezing Trap is off cooldown, they need to find an Entangling Roots, Freezing Trap, and try to take somebody down. But right now, Zuni is in big trouble here. Dragon's Breath, potentially. There it is. Going to be a little delayed there by Alec, but that Life Cocoon is not going to be doing too much right now. You can see the pressure of this Mage Lock is really starting to build up. A couple of more attempts, and ABC should just be able to take this game. So nLite really needs to try to find some aggression, and they need to try to find a Freezing Trap. But Asgraf, he has every single answer right now. He has Trinket, Life Sack. He has basically everything he needs to make sure that his wizards are nice and healthy, and also he has enough mana to keep his team going. So I'm not sure what nLite can do here.
It's just not an easy spot for them to be in. This composition seems to kind of have their number in this tournament. Hammer of Justice onto Cassidy. Vitality Conduit will land from Zuniaki. A Life Cocoon, of course, going to have a bit more of a cooldown than we've seen in the past. Interrupt now onto Zuniaki. There's an opening here for ABC. Can they capitalize on it? Really is the question. Cassidy going to be forced to run away in the match, and Walrix, Asgrath, and Alec reclaim their wizard dominance in the open, forcing nLite to retreat to safety. But Cassidy's not retreating for too long. He pushes forward, stun onto Asgrath into a trap. Big damage onto Alec, but Asgrath getting out of that trap should be able to easily stabilize with his Avenging Wrath. But I mean, I guess it's not that easy. At 40% dampening, this game has been going on for quite some time, and it's just going to get more and more difficult for both of these healers.
Cassidy chasing down Alec. Big damage at the moment. Onto two targets. He got knocked off the side. Big Drestigath. Asgrath rolls up on his Divine Steed. In line of sight. Zuniaki, did he mean to paralyze Alec? I feel like that was meant to be on Asgrath. Now he's feared away. Ring of Frost. They could swap. They
broke it instantly.
Why? That was a bit strange by Alec. They're going to drop the Demonic Gateway, push up on top of nLite, look to try and close this fight. Huge damage potentially. Walrus gets intercepted by Cassidy, stunned up. Alec is whittling down from those gushing wounds. Asgrath mounting up again on the Divine Steed, going for the Hammer of Justice. How are they going to respond? Survival Instincts. They trap the Mage on Combustion. They dispel that off, though. Not going to get too much value. At this point, though, nLite, I think, are going to win this game with just overwhelming damage and not so much crowd control. Playing that Gushing Wounds, line of sighting, keeping their dots up, almost playing like a dot comp rather than a burst trap comp, trying to get some sort of advantage there. It has developed a lot of momentum, but there's a full stun. Revival from Zuniaki catches all the crowd control. Alec now on the back foot. Asgrath pops Avenging Wrath. Big Divine Heal, but actually doesn't even bring Alec really too far up into health at almost 50% dampening. This game is going to be wrapping up soon. It could still be anyone's.
Yeah, I like what Warwick has been doing. Every time Alec pops his Combustion, he actually fears that pet to deny that Roar of Sacrifice, which is immunity to being crit. It's a direct counter to Combustion, so definitely good job here by ABC noticing that. And now Alec going for a polymorph. He secures it. Cassidy could be in trouble, but Cassidy looking to get counter-aggress. No, he just stuns him and then runs away, but they're going to swap their attention to Facile. Facile now isolated behind a pillar. Last polymorph comes out, double Dragon's Breath. If they have anything for Zuni, there's a DR Fear could just be the game here. Facile finally going to activate that aspect of the turtle, but Zuni might need to use his life cocoon as soon as he comes out of here, still using that immunity to interrupt to channel a couple of heals. Asgrath now could get stunned into trap. The imp is in range and ready. They're just going to paralyze instead. Alec could be in huge trouble. No sacrifice yet. Asgarth finally going to use that trinket sacrifice, keep his mage in the fight, but this could be anyone's game. Asgarth is definitely dipping low right now. Everybody on the side of ABC is super low as dampening continue to ramp up.
Ooh, Alec, that's cauterized. Could be Ice Block as well. He uses it. But now you can see ABC, they've traded out everything. The damage from nLite is completely overwhelming. And at this point, I mean, how is ABC going to recover? Facile also incredibly low as he's forced to run away. Alec gets interrupted. Combustion. Both teams just going all in. Anyone could fall at any moment. Asgrath somehow recovers his team. Zuniaki gets interrupted. Big scary time here for nLite. Cassidy, Facile, Zuniaki all just hiding behind the pillars. ABC are looking to make a final push. Facile, he could easily fall, as well as Walrick. I don't know how Cassidy's going to live. He's caught into a hammer of justice. Do they have follow-up? Zuniaki manages to dispel it, but it is Alec that inevitably falls. nLite, they hold on. They get the burst damage. They recover through the onslaught of ABC, and it's 60% dampening.
I don't think it's over.
I think. I mean, maybe APZ could come back, but I don't think they're going to be able to. Walrick, there's too many interrupts and stuns. The game's over, and nLite, absolutely miracle, managed to bounce back.
God, now they're both tied up 1-1 nLite versus ABC here on game 2, and just tremendous pressure coming out on both sides there at the end, Zico. And you know, we kind of talked about how this comp may not do that well into ABC, into that mage lock, but it just seems like they're really starting to figure something out here and gain some traction.
Yeah, I mean, their strategy seems to be try to stay alive as long as possible, make a big push in deep dampening, and just try to force everything at once and just win with raw pressure. And it worked for them that game, but that game was extremely close. In fact, I would argue that the only reason why that game went the way it did there towards the end was because Warwick's got rooted out of line from his healer with his Dark Soul up when the whole team of nLite was on like 20%, but he could all avoid him for like 10 seconds plus. So I'm not sure how often you can do that if you're nLite.
All right, well, that was ABC's map choice. They did lock in Tolvaron. nLite.
Yep, Tolvaron.
Thank you.
All right.
So nLite, you threw me off with your song. nLite looking to respond with their composition here. Ben, do you think that this is something that they can repeat? I mean, they're kind of sort of getting traction. Zico thought it was just a mistake from the other side here. What do you think they can do? Is this something that's reliable for the rest of the series?
Well, I mean, reliable or not, it's their only option, right? I mean, they could go Discipline Priest here, but that would be, I think that'd be bad. I think Alec would just lock in the Frost Mage, and then it's almost over before it even starts. But for nLite, they just have to try to make it work. I mean, they have to try to find those moments where they can push in and kind of burst through all that defense. They have to make sure they're never staying in the open for too long. Basically calculate how much damage they can take, and if it's going to be an overwhelming amount, they have to get back to the pillar and give Zuniaki a little bit of time to heal. But I do think this matchup is just going to be the same as we've seen. Mistweaver Jungle versus the Mage Lock Paladin. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't that on Tolvaron.
Is nLite struggling with jungle just on these teams that we've seen today, or is this just a comp that's just not quite as good anymore, Zico?
Well, it just got nerfed. Like, literally all of their classes kind of got nerfed. So I feel like it's worse than it is before. But we saw them get kind of dismantled in the upper bracket by the comp that they're against. So I would also argue that maybe they learned something from that matchup and they're playing a little bit better. And maybe ABC isn't as good on that Mage Warlock as Diablos.
Why is it always jungle? Like we saw, do you guys remember when Reformed won, was it the spring finals like 2 years ago with jungle? Just completely dominated that entire tournament, and then jungle got nerfed. They weren't really able to find their footing through like the rest of the year. And I just hope we're not seeing something similar with here with nLite. Maybe there's something they can adjust if they just aren't going to be able to make it work with jungle here, Ben.
I mean, so here's the thing: is jungle is a good composition. It just doesn't outright beat everything, and I think the problem with a lot of the jungle teams we see is they're one tricks more often than not. I mean, they just play jungle, and as the season goes on, I mean, maybe sometimes they get unfavorable nerfs, but at the same time, teams that can play 10 different compositions are going to be able to find an answer that's at least reasonable. And we do see some flexibility in nLite, the fact that Zuniaki plays the Mistweaver Monk, but I mean, only playing one composition, you can't expect it to just literally beat every comp in the game. And we're seeing these teams that are a little bit more flexible eventually find answers, and I think that's what often happens to these teams that play jungle.
Yeah, certainly risky if even if you're absolutely dominating on one comp, it just takes one week of nerfs to just turn it into what we're seeing right now. nLite doing super well on this comp last week, now struggling here against ABC with this mage lock Zico.
Yeah, I think we can see what ABC can do here. I mean, this is the best possible map for them, and honestly, for nLite, if they can win it here, the rest of the series is starting to look really good for them, because this is of course going to be the swing match. So if they can take it on Tolvir, maybe they lose, on Ashermains, then they can still take it back to. Have they played Black Rook Hold yet in this matchup?
No.
I don't think so. So probably we would go to Black Rook Hold again, since they were able to do so well in the past on that map. So this is a big game for sure. And likewise for ABC, if they can win this game, they can kind of just keep that swing match advantage as well. So I think for nLite, they're going to have to perform extremely well to be able to take this one.
Yeah, and whoever team wins this series goes on to face Method Black, which is also going to be another difficult series, Supatis.
I mean, it's going to be a tough road no matter what when you get into the top 4 at that point. I mean, we already saw like a pretty big bubble before the circuit stage to even just get to the top 8. So the competition is definitely high here in Europe. It's not one singular team dominating, where unlike North America, where it seems like Cloud9 just, even when they got beaten one series, they just outright stomped Golden Guardians the next time around. So Europe's competition is insanely high at the moment. I mean, we're often seeing Method Black in the lower bracket early on, and same thing with Wildcard as well. So it's just going to be a really tough year if you're a European team, if you want to be champions, if you want to win the entire thing. In this series, nLite, I feel like, are about to play the longest series ever for them. And inevitably, it's Game 5 Ashermains when they play it out. They could maybe run it short if they somehow pull it off here. I love the just run and keep gushing wounds up in dampening. Just pretend you're a dot comp and just line of sight Chaos Bolt and Pyro. And then when they somewhat start to get low from that gushing, just jump out, drop your Dress to Gas, try and one tap. Don't even go for crowd control. Don't overextend. Just
they could play Diamond Eyes. They were going for Paralyzed anyway in the end. Just go for Diamond Eyes.
Maybe Cassidy should actually run Lunar Inspiration and just Moonfire. just keep dots up and run.
It might be worth it.
Yeah, maybe we should just respec Moonkin.
It would be better, actually. Moonkin Hunter would be better, I think. On the big map. Maybe not the small map, but I think the big map, Moonkin Hunter would actually be better than Feral.
Moonkin Hunter, I would love to see that comp.
Alright. Let's see. Alright, game's going to start here, and looks like Vasil, Cassidy, and Zuniaki will be taking the center pillar as a position. Infernal drops down. Walrus once again going to be playing that Vision of Perfection. I mean, that damage really starts adding up when you get to 60% dampening in a match. If you have 2 Infernals down that have spawned due to Vision of Perfection, it's really difficult for Zuniaki to deal with that kind of pressure.
I feel like Azcraft's making a mistake. He's not playing the Shadow Resist aura. He could just make Gushing Wounds do significantly less damage, and he knows jungle's going to run Gushing Wounds. So I feel maybe double Blessing Protection is also really good. So maybe it's just too tough of a call, but it seems like that sustained damage is what's overwhelming them later in the fight.
Ooh, there's your polymorph here onto Zuniaki, and I gotta agree with you. I think the Shadow Distance aura could be good here. Zuni in Hammer of Justice taking a decent amount of damage, but Alec is in a stun, so I would be extremely surprised to see him go down here. Honestly, if he goes down here, I would be shocked. And he is going to use that Fortifying Brew right there, and he's going to be completely fine. I don't think he even needed to, but it's a relatively short cooldown, so may as well trade it out, and you're trading it for the Infernals anyway, so you're going to have it back up. Not a bad trade at all for Zuni here. Now we can see Alec dipping kind of low here from those gushing wounds. Alec gonna activate his temporal shield. Should take him back up nicely right there. The trap is full here. If they can get anything out of that, that could be big. Zuni in a polymorph. Cassidy's gonna have to trinket, and I'm not sure what actually broke that poly, but Cassidy's trinket out of the way. Pretty decent win here for ABC. I don't know if that was an Infernal from Warwick's maybe that broke that poly on Zuni, but they could have definitely forced out Survival Instincts to go with that trinket had that poly not broken.
Let's see, Revive Pet coming out. They did snipe off the pet from Facile, and maybe that's something they're going to be looking to do. Alec actually throwing out a lot of Flame Strikes. I'm curious to see if he has altered his build at all. Maybe playing World in Flames in anticipation.
He's playing Flame Patch.
So he is playing Flame Patch. He's playing World in Flames? No, he's not playing World in Flames. It is going to be that Flame Cannon. So I have a little bit of, threat with the Flame Patch in the match as the game goes on. I mean, that is something we're really not going to be seeing be effective until literally 50% dampening. So Alec banking on potentially a long game strategy, but a big all-in on Zuniaki. Could just fall, but it looks like the healing elixirs will be more than enough for him to survive. And once again, retreating behind the pillar. For nLite, it really feels like they need these big pushes. Here it is. Paralyzed into stun onto Asgarath. Alec heals himself up with Temporal Shield. Asgarath just needs a moment. Divine Favor. And actually, I don't know what happened to that Divine Favor, but it didn't do anything. Alec's health didn't really move. And still, there's a ton of pressure. This could maybe even be the Cauterize. It is going to be a Blessing of Protection that Asgarath trades out, keeping Alec alive. But what is happening to his health?
Don't know why they freezing trapped. Maybe just to interrupt a greater pyro. Zuni got stunned out in midfield. I actually don't even think they should go for traps when there's an imp down. Just keep dots up, gushing wounds, try and get some bleeds, run around the corner, drag this fight out. Big damage on Walrix at half health here. Asgarath has Avenging Wrath, so full health for Walrix. Infernal's called in. Zuni could be in trouble. He Fort Bruise. He anticipates a stun, but ABC hold on to it for a later time. Alec goes for Greater Pyro, gets interrupted by Cassidy. Cassidy now feared out into the corner. Not a great place you want to be against a Fire Mage and a Warlock. He's getting snared up there. Jumping back, trying to retreat back to the pillar. Intercepted by Hammer of Justice, revivaled out of it. Now Cassidy looking to just run away. Keep dots up, getting the dampening, but Alec he's just going into this. He gets a poly. He blinks on top of them. Alec does not want this fight to get to the point where it did on Dalaran Sewers, where the team is just overwhelmed by the damage of nLite. Not the typical strategy for the jungle cleave. They're sort of playing like a Death Knight strategy where it's just do damage, don't die. But it's what they have to do to win the matchup, and it works for them.
Ooh, double dress push here. Zuni in a Shadow Fury into a poly here. They secure it. They could turn the pressure back onto Cassidy, but Asgarath is in a full trap right now. I do think the Imp lost the 50-50, and Alec getting stunned up, getting re-stunned here. No dress available just yet. Asgarath trying to get in range for that Blessing of Sacrifice. Goes for the Holy Light instead. It's going to connect. Zuni now in a full poly. Pre-cocoons Facile. So Cassidy has to be the target here. Ooh, nice stun onto Asgarath on his Divine Favor. Could net them to Cauterize. Big Greater Pyroblast though onto Cassidy. It's a big race here. It looks like Asgarath is going to be able to find that Holy Light that he needed. And it looks like Zuni as well should be able to stabilize his team. But net win for ABC, I would say. They forced out that Life Cocoon, and Zuni is still in crowd control. Cassidy does have his Vitality Conduit running. Alec now in a Blessing of Protection. Big damage here onto Zuni. Let's see what they can do. No Greater Pyroblast. That Scorch is not going to be enough to kill Zuni as his HP goes back up full in that swap. And now nLite forcing out another Blessing of Protection. So there's going to be 0 on the side of ABC, which could be scary.
Ooh, Alec still taking some damage. Caught in midfield. He will just be positioning as far away as possible, and that's one of the benefits of Tolvaron is when you are in trouble, you can run away. You can create a lot of space, and then it becomes really difficult for Cassidy and Facile to maintain their push. Beautiful stun / interrupt there by Cassidy, completely shutting down Walrick and Alec, keeping Facile nice and healthy. He's going to activate the Lingering Psychic Shell either way. You can see 7% dampening. Zuniaki, his mana is not taxed at all at this point of the game. Literally full mana. So nLite looking quite good. Facile taking a huge hit of damage. Infernals do drop down as well as a Hammer of Justice. And the damage is just not over. Walrix, that was not even the Dark Soul, but just big Chaos Bolts forcing nLite to retreat once again.
Zuniaki Mortal Cold into the distance. Cassidy jumping back. Dodges the Infernal, but Greater Pyroblast. Triple Shadow Fury. That Flame Patch, Flame Strike build from Alec, trying to punish nLite for turtling up at the boxes. Rain of Fire going to be dropped as well, trying to maximize that pressure. But Walrus overextends for a moment and almost goes down. Huge damage out here. Paralyzed on Alec, shutting him out of the fight. Dark Soul, they're going to stun him and run away from the Warlock. They even lob a trap, knocking Walrus away. So avoid the Warlock at all costs during the Dark Soul timing here. That purple glowing icon. When it's glowing, it's active. And look, it already did a lot of damage, even though he didn't get a Chaos Bolt. Zuni had to use Gaia's Medallion. He had to use the Life Cocoon. It trades effectively for Combustion and Dark Soul, but it opens Zuni up for Hammer of Justice in the future. Asgarath is pushing forward slightly. Zuniaki's moving towards him as well. Curious if he wants to stun. Asgarath gets stunned first. Zuni ports away from poly attempts of Alec. Good positioning on Zuni. Nice crackling Jade. Get that Mystic touch up onto Walrix. Add some extra damage. They could switch to Alec. They got the Gushing Wounds rolling on both targets. And yeah, Asgarath not changing his build to counter the Gushing might lose them the game here. He's stunned up. Walrix is low on health. Sacrifice on 10%. And the pressure, it's unrelenting. I never would have thought of Jungle Cleave as a dot comp, but they're making it work here with this Gushing Wounds corruption.
Oh, this is how Facile plays in twos all day long. I mean, this is just what he does, and it works very, very effectively too. And you could be looking for a trap here. Actually, I think Cassidy's trying to ramp up enough to be able to go for that entangling route. There's the stun. Facile's potentially could look to charge in. No, I think he's just going to go back. He's dotting up everyone with his poison, trying to apply some gushings onto everybody. Warwick's still taking decent damage, and now they don't have any more interrupts, so they are going to duck for cover, and that's exactly what they're doing. They go out, they lob their trap, they use their kicks, they use their stuns, and then they go back to the pillar and just dot everybody. Asgraf trying to push in, trying to get a Hammer of Justice, but Zuni is going to break out of crowd control and be able to dispel that. Asgraf now in the classic combo where stun, trap, Warwick's just going to go down without even using his unending resolve right there. No sack, no bops for Asgarath, and that bubble, he bubbled the stun, but it just wasn't enough. And that was the game that nLite needed to win. All of a sudden, this is looking like their series.
Wow.
Go ahead.
No, that's it. Just wow.
Okay, well, yeah, well played by those guys. Definitely a little bit of back and forth though, Zico. Let's talk about those final moments though. How are they able to secure that victory at the end?
Well, they had a lot of pressure. They kicked Asgarath, and then they stunned him up, and then they kind of retreated after that. They got, Basile in a position where he started to apply his poisons. Then they went back out. They got another stun root combo onto Asgarath, and they didn't even have time to go for like the 50-50 Inta spell, so he just bubbled out of that one. But the thing about the Paladin is, you have to have a big emergency button with your breaker. It's kind of like a Mistweaver. If you trinket and you don't have Vitality Conduit or Cocoon, target is still going to die most likely. Same thing goes for a Paladin. You have to combine your trinket with a sacrifice, or your bubble with a sacrifice, or a blessing of protection, and then the target is going to survive. I'm not sure if Asgarath had a blessing of protection or not there, but I think that was the mistake. They should have just immediately popped that. And maybe Warwick should have just used his unending resolve. He was kind of low though when CC hit.
ABC now only one loss away from losing this series here against nLite. They're up 2-1, and this is a place where we, weren't exactly sure how this next game was going to go. It was definitely going to be difficult for them then, but they were able to pull it off though. Is this something though that they can repeat for this next game, or is this gonna go to a game 5? Do you think?
Well, I do think they can pull it off. I mean, when we saw even game number 1, the game ABC won, it wasn't a great win, to be honest. I mean, it was a win, but it was kind of just random. It felt like they were losing the whole game, and then 2 Chaos Bolts snuck in. I guess that can happen, but definitely not the most reliable thing. It just seems like the more consistent strategy and plays have been coming in from nLite. And I almost wonder if ABC is going to switch it up, if they go for the Rogue Mage Paladin, or do something different. I don't know if that's really a great matchup into the Mistweaver jungle, but I think if ABC play out the same matchup, I'm not that confident that they'll actually win it.
Okay, all right. So not too confident on the side of Ven for ABC. Zico, Supatees, what do you think? Let's make some predictions.
I think ABC are going to lock in Ashermans, but I think they should
cheating?
lock
It's
in a
already
small
up,
map and play Rogue Mage. Wait, is it? Well, no, I'm not cheating because I don't have the Super T's one. Like right now, mine says nLite 0121. Okay, now actually I just it. But yeah, I wasn't cheating. Okay, I feel like what they're doing right now is they're kind of putting the final nail in the coffin. I think, like Van, this Mage Lock has not looked convincing whatsoever in this matchup, and I would have loved to see a Rogue Mage come out. If I see a Rogue Mage come out on Asha mains, I'm not going to be too excited about that. If I saw a Rogue Mage come out on, or if I saw them lock in a small map, then Zuni is like, okay, so do I play Priest, Monk, play Monk? I'm gonna die. Play Priest, I'm gonna get dampened. Boom.
Okay, CPTs, what do you think then? You're already wrong though.
feel
Weren't
like-
you the one that said Asha mains game 5? Was that you?
Yeah. But I don't know how ABC. I mean, I honestly don't know how they lost on Tolver on his Mage Lock, and it wasn't even Spite. I don't. I want to run back and double check if Clyde played Shadow Resist Aura. I think he was, because I'm pretty sure he only had one bop. I'm like 99% sure he only had one bop, and if he only had one bop, that means he dropped Blessed Hands for the Shadow Resist Aura. That is the damage that is
No,
killing
he was playing
ABC.
Blessed Hands.
Was he?
Blessed Hands, Lights Grace, and Big Sack.
I'm going back and looking. Give me a second.
You don't take my word for that?
Thanks.
I'll take your word for it, Zico.
I believe you.
Good, because it's fresh from
Wait,
the...
is the bot even
It's
up?
fresh from the add-on.
All right, well, we have ABC locking in Mage Lock again. Asgarath on the Holy Paladin. Any surprises here, Ben?
Not really. I mean, maybe they just feel like they don't have any better options. I mean, we literally saw this matchup play out, and we saw Diabolus win. So it is possible for ABC to win. There's no question about it. But they just have to clean up, their offensive and defensive playstyle, or their offensive and defensive gameplay a little bit more, and try to take advantage of the crowd control and the bursts that they have available. And if nLite makes any mistakes, you really have to punish it. But it's a difficult thing to do. nLite is playing this really well.
We certainly are. nLite versus ABC here on game number 4. nLite looking to close this series out with a 3-1 victory, or is ABC going to tie it up here against nLite on Ash mains?
I really think Asgrass should change and drop the double blessing and protection and get the damage reduction for Gushing Wounds. I feel like Gushing Wounds it's like the only reason that ABC are taking damage in this matchup. So taking a talent that just significantly reduces it. Even Alec, I think, should change.
Alec should be playing
Dampen?
Dampen Magic.
Yeah,
But
Playing
for sure.
Netherwind Armor
if
instead.
they both played that, Gushing Wounds does nothing to Alec.
Yeah, he's still susceptible. It's not like Jungle doesn't do any damage. Like, they still do good burst damage, and they're seeing a lot of their bursts come off, Drestigath. I mean, you're giving up an immunity with Blessing and Protection, and those immunities, they're pretty important as well. During, like, those burst moments, being able to be like, okay, here's a Blessing and Protection when you're 5% health. I mean, that can outright just keep you in the game. So I don't think it's super, one is better than the other, but I see the argument for definitely playing the Blessed Hands.
Well, actually, Clyde was also playing without it, and I think Looney played one game and then swapped off of it. So I think a lot of the healers are in agreement that they don't think it's more worth than the Blessed Hands. Either way, we are in game here. We've seen the first hit land. Alec used his trinket and didn't really amount to too much with that, but see if they can land something here. Fear's gonna break on Zuni. Not gonna too much. I think this is great for the jungle, honestly. They're just hugging the pillar. They're hitting Warwick's, line of sighting Alec. When Warwick's runs away, they're gonna just hit Alec and line of sight Warwick's. You can see it right here. And they're just gonna play on the side of one caster. And that's because of these pillars being so big. So I think nLite here are using the map pretty well to their advantage, but big swap here onto Zuni could be enough here. Alec loading up a big Greater Pyroblast is gonna blink for it. It is going to connect here onto Zuni, but not gonna be doing too much. He's just gonna heal himself and brush that off. Also did use his Fort Brew in that exchange.
Feared away for now, but nLite look to just pillar, drag this fight on. They're going to push out when they have that Drestigath trinket, try and go for a big burst of damage and find a kill, and if they don't, retreat, keep Serpent Sting up, proc Gushing Wounds as much as possible, rot them down, run Asgarath out of mana. Surprisingly, nLite have defeated the Mage Warlock on Tolveron. Can they defeat them on the second best map, Ashamain's Fall, is now going to be the question. So far, so good. Paralyze on Alec, Greater Pyroblast, pressure on Walrix. Not even looking for crowd control at this point, just dot him up, run away, rot him down. Pretty safe strategy here from nLite overall. Switching to Alec a little bit. Asgrath is moving in. He wants to get crowd control, but Ring of Peace knocks him away. Beautiful interception there. Nice punish. Asgrath is going to be moving a lot more slowly now if he wants to try and get towards Zuniaki. Seems like he's still pondering it. If Asgrath wants to move in, I almost think they should actually mount up, not even use the Divine Steed. But he's also got to deal with this consistent pressure from the pillar, from the jungle. It's still interesting. nLite just able to play like their ranged classes, basically. Asgrath Divine Steeding in, Hammer of Justice. Zuniaki sees the swap, activates Fort Brew. I don't think it would be wise for them to commit to him. Instead, switching back to Facile. Chaos Bolt lobbed out here. No Dark Soul, but it is Combustion. nLite survived Combustion, I mean, without really even taking a scratch. Walrick sets up with a Mortal Coil, but not able to get any follow-up. Fearing Cassidy into the distance. They paralyze the Dark Soul. Do they have a stun? They leg sweep the Dark Soul. Zuni gets caught in a half poly. Cassidy going to trade Survival Instincts. Might not have really been necessary to use the Survival Instincts. I guess better safe than sorry, but Zuni now stunned up out in midfield. They intercept Alec and Walrus at the same time, totally denying any damage on Zuniaki. And while nLite are focused on disruption, Asgrath's mana has been burning down quite quickly.
We're going to see Alec now taking decent amount of damage here. Could maybe be the cauterize. Asgrath going to give him a big heal with that Divine Favor. Now he's pushing in for the Hammer of Justice. Can he find it? He finds it onto Zuni. Chaos Bolt gets interrupted there with that main stun. Alec looking to do a little instant damage. That Meteor taking a big chunk of Zuniaki's HP. But the fact that they stopped that Chaos Bolt will stop the damage from Warwick's and that Mortal Coil, that extra lockdown that they would have to extend the CC chain or the damage chain. So with that, they are going to be able to go out, make their little punch, and then go back to the pillar, stack up the poisons, stack up the bleeds. Cassidy actually getting a re-stealth here, and then he's going to bleed Warwick's with those big dots that you get from that re-stealth, and then he's going to kick Alec, bleed him up as well, and then now he's going to run back to the pillar after having applied his rip onto Warwick's as well. So Cassidy has bleeds on 2 targets. Now he wants to re-stealth to get a bigger bleed and potentially a stun, and while they're doing this, ABC needs to go in and try to get something to happen here. But once again, that Roar of Sacrifice, it's such a massive difference. If Zuni has a Roar of Sacrifice and if he doesn't during these setups, and the fact that they're playing it like this isn't really allowing ABC to get a chance to CC that pet. Zuni though is in a poly, double Mortal Coil coming out. Big damage here, but it's actually Cassidy on the back foot. Let's see what they can get done to stop their re-CC. Zuni has his life cocoon. Warwick's the one in trouble. Big stun there onto Asgrath. He's going to trinket, use that Blessing of Sacrifice, pop his wings, and now here comes the Divine Favor, Holy Light, potentially very soon. And Warwick should be completely fine. Hammer of Justice coming out now as well onto Zuni, but they don't have any damage. Zuni pre-life cocooning himself, playing like a king.
Yeah, and as a result, he will be completely fine, but now doesn't have that cooldown to work with for, another minute in the game. And we do, of course, enter dampening at about 5 minutes in the match, and things will start really accelerating here. I forget how long the last game took, how much dampening really was required, but it seems like once you get to the 20-30% mark, that's when Asgrath really starts to struggle and has to use a lot of his mana, a lot of his cooldowns. Big setup here on Zuniaki. Keep in mind, he doesn't have the life cocoon, but it just doesn't seem like there's enough damage. Vitality Conduit, now Zuniaki actually looking to get aggressive. He's caught into a polymorph once again into the open. They don't have our Hammer of Justice at this point, so unfortunately they won't be able to really capitalize on Zuniaki's positioning in the open. Cassidy will be pushing forward to try to slow down Alec, tank some of this damage, and I think the crowd control finally will subside from Zuniaki, just getting another fear into potentially another fear, finally, and now Zuniaki has a moment to breathe. Although during all that crowd control, Walrick and Alec really weren't able to find too much damage. That even was the combustion coming in from Alec, so a bit unfortunate there for ABC, but really great defensive plays by nLite.
Asgrath charging in, Ring of Peace to intercept them. Love these Ring of Peace from Zuniaki, just totally shutting Asgrath out. Cataclysm hits a triple. nLite going to be on all targets. Nicely played by Walrix, maximizing that flashpoint efficiency. Flame Strike's on the left, nLite's on the right, dampening now at 10%. nLite putting up a fight. Only one more win and it'll be ABC good night. Can they keep it up here? Cassidy retreating away. Walrus rooted. Gonna freedom him out of the root, get back on top. They got Infernals in 5, Dark Souls up. They stun Zuni. Big power play here on the Zuni. He has to Trinket and Life Cocoon the Combustion. Zuni has been anticipating these setups time and time again, but this time ABC did finally get him. Now without Glider's Medallion, he's going to have to be scared of the Dark Soul of Walrix, but double Dressigath drops in on Walrix. He's below half health already, on match point, potentially overwhelmed. Paralyzed on Asgrath, stun on Alec. Two-pronged assault, 2 targets low. Freezing Trap, half diminishing return, but might not even matter. Walrix Mortal Coiling Cassidy away, trying to recover. Asgrath decided he wanted to play it safe rather than sorry and use Glider's Medallion to break out of that chain. Connect the sacrifice, but his whole team is still rotting down. Asgrath charging in, Zuniaki porting far side of the battlefield. Asgrath still nowhere near him. Walrus trying to relay his demonic gateway. He's still taking a beating. Fasil's Serpent Sting and Run strategy, very effective against the Mage Warlock here in the lower bracket as dampening continues to rise.
Yeah, and Zuni needs to be careful. Asgraff is making his way to him. Hammer of Justice, there it is. Big hit here from ABC, and that's just going to be the game here, I think. And he will go down using his trinket on that previous setup, and then ABC immediately finding a way to punish that. And the only reason why Zuni wasn't able to pre-Fort Druid or anything like that you typically see is because Warwick's placed down one of his 2 AoE stuns, the instant cast one that's on a different DR, puts that down, catches Zuni, and then before that short little stun ends, Asgraff makes it to his target, and they get a clean setup as a result. Beautifully played.
And you know, Zico, it was kind of looking, there was quite a bit of back and forth throughout that game. Now it's 2-2 for nLite versus ABC of Venruki, but it just looked like it was kind of anyone's game during that match.
Yeah, I mean, that was very back and forth. Most of these games really have been. There's moments in the game where ABC really can just win with really clean setups. That being said, nLite equally, I mean, if they can hold on long enough, if they can survive those goes, then they have a great opportunity to kind of overwhelm as the game goes on in dampening, and that's what we saw in games 2 and 3. But, I mean, I'll eat my words. ABC, they definitely look like they're still in it, giving me a little bit more confidence in their setups at least, and now we're at a tied series, and it is going to be nLite's map pick, and I think that's the big thing. The big story of this match is that swing match that nLite was able to win. Now, all of a sudden, they've put themselves in this favorable position where they can go to a small map if they want to. What maps are left though? What small maps are we going to see?
Ruins.
Cold could be okay.
I feel like Ruins they wouldn't pick it because it's good for the main
Not
job.
Ruins. Have we seen Hook Point? Is Hook Point too small?
I think we go Blackrock Hold.
Blackrock, yeah.
Blackrock, okay. Yeah, so they have Blackrock Hold. It's a great map for them. And ABC's going to have to basically do what nLite did, which is win on an unfavorable map.
Super difficult to do, especially when nLite has, like you were saying, they can pick the map, they can also pick the comp after ABC picks their comp, and it's kind of just a really difficult spot to be in here, Zico.
Yeah, of course it's but they have the comp advantage. That's the thing. When you play against a team with only one comp, at least you're gonna have that comp advantage, and they can definitely take that map and make a couple of tweaks of their own to try to make it work in their favor a little bit more. For example, Warwick's could go Demonic Circle if he wanted to, and also port into the room. I don't think that's the line of play that he will do, but you can definitely tweak your gameplay and your positioning to kind of accommodate for whatever map you're playing on.
And do you think that's all they're going to do? They're just going to tweak the comp that they're currently on with that Mage Lock, or do you think there's something else that we may see them bring out here, Ben?
No, I mean, I think it's likely we do see the exact same compositions, right? It will be Blackrock Hold, and I think for nLite, there's no real reason for them to switch. Although, they could go Priest. I still think Priest is good, but obviously Zuniaki's going to know better than me as he plays, the Mistweaver and the Priest with jungle exclusively. But, I definitely have hope for that Discipline Priest. I think it's unlikely. I do think it's just going to be the Mage Lock Paladin versus the Mistweaver jungle. And it's just going to be a case of ABC looking to find those one-shots and nLite looking to shut it down. And if nLite can shut it down long enough, then they could win later on with just overwhelming pressure with the Gushing Wounds, kind of the rot we've seen their team able to pull off.
So ABC likely to play that Mage Lock again here, Supatees, and the win condition, it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong here, is just for them to sort of hold off the pressure coming from nLite, like Ven was touching on, get into that deep dampening. What are some of the things they're going to be looking to do to shut down any chance of a setup from nLite?
Switching pets between the Imp and the Fell Hunter so that they can dispel Freezing Trap and then also get interrupts. seems like they're pretty committed to this strategy of just killing Zuniaki, and then that earlier part of the game, Zuniaki stopped every single attempt on his life, and then when he didn't, 2 times in a row, he lost the game. So that's really tough. If you've got 2 chances, if you mess up twice, the game's over for you. So I think that's a smart strategy from ABC. Just dogpile on Zuniaki, look for those kills on the healer. I feel like Cloud9 are also known for doing this. We've seen it against Shamans. I think it works just as fine against Monks, especially if they're running Vitality Conduit and not Conflict. I guess the only thing I'm wondering here is maybe nLite play Priest, because they did win on Blackrock Hold as Priest. Would it work better? I wonder, like, Zuniaki even runs Gushing Wounds on Priest, what that would do. I'm thinking, like...
It's not that good.
It's not that good? Oh.
No, because I feel like you have both Versa.
It probably
and
doesn't
Haste.
interact with Atonement. If it did interact with Atonement, I would think it would be really good, but it probably doesn't.
That I don't know, actually.
I don't know. I've heard rumors of that, but I'm still not sure on that one. We need a priest expert to tell us.
They don't want to reveal it because it might get changed. keep their Gushing Wounds a secret.
I definitely think you still want to go stat amps on a priest. In general, on healers, I feel like you want to go for amp.
All right, well, 40 seconds left on the board for nLite to lock in their composition. Something I do like asking Zico and Ven about, though, is the mage, the builds that we're seeing these mages run. We've discussed it a bit. I don't think we've talked about what Alex could do here. Do we think that he's going to sort of change something up here, Zico, or what do you think exactly he's going to run for this game?
I actually really like what Alec is doing with his build. He's running Firestarter and Greater Pyroblast. And basically, it means when he's targeted, he just spams out Fireblast and resets his combustion. And when Warx is the target, he can spam out those Greater Pyroblasts. So I'm a big fan of that build. Usually, people don't actually like to go Firestarter and Greater Pyro because they don't synergize together. But I feel like in practice, especially when you play Mage Warlock, that's what you should be going for. And then the last talent, you can go Netherwind Armor. You can go, a different. You can go Dampen Magic, for example. There's different options there. The one thing I don't agree with is wait for
Maledict
it.
and Claw.
Yeah, he has
Yep.
Maledict. He has Claw. I would go for a Maledict.
Well, I forget what event it was, but we were sort of interviewing a lot of the players, one of those being Alec. We had a lot of other mages from other teams being interviewed, and I think one of those questions was how does it feel being the best mage in the world? And we asked that to every mage, and I think Alex's response was super humble. He's just like, I'm up there, but Raiku's really good and Gelu's really good, and I think he's such a humble guy, but Alec is just absolutely so consistent and pretty dominant on that mage spot, I think, here, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, he's been consistent for a really long time, right? I mean, I feel like Alec has been maybe competing, like he's been playing at that high level for maybe longer than anyone that's in these tournaments, maybe Zuniaki, but he's definitely up there. I mean, he's just been really consistent for a super long period of time. Maybe not the most flashy player, but definitely really consistent, solid mage gameplay. And the thing I like about Alec is he's willing to play all the specs of mage, which is something we don't always see mages do. Like, people are really reluctant to try arcane, and that's one thing that I like about Alec is he will play the arcane mage. He'll play frost, he'll play fire. He realizes there's actually strength in utilizing all those different specializations, and I think that's one thing I really respect about him, is that he actually will play all the different builds. He's not just locked in or hyper focused into just one of them.
Yeah, but I just don't want to see him on the Warlock again, because last time it went to like 90% dampening, so stick to the Arcane, stick to the Fire and Frost, that's great.
Yeah, I think a true mage can't play Warlock anyways. It
A
just doesn't
true-
work.
What? I used to main Warlock.
True mage?
Yeah, but
I'm not a true mage?
Whoa.
Wow.
I mean, how long ago was that, Zico? Are you really gonna hold on?
Listen, you say Alec has been competing for a long time.
Do you
Alec is one
identify
of the
yourself
OG.
as a Warlock or a mage? Let me ask you that.
Well, you ask my opponents what they identified me as when they faced me back in the day, okay?
Okay, well, I also said a true mage is not a great Warlock. I mean, maybe a great Warlock is a great mage. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. I could
backpedal a little bit on that statement.
Okay, no.
But it is rare. You
I'll
have to
take that
admit,
edit.
it is extremely rare where you see a mage play a Warlock and a Warlock play a mage and actually pull it off. You almost never see it. Can
Who
you
is
even
a
think of
player
any
who's done
examples?
that? I actually can't think of a single example at the top of my head. Like
Mario
did
should
it,
try
was-
to, I think. Mario should
No,
actually
Mario
try
tried,
to.
man. Mario
but
did try. His Warlock was.
So what? His first time playing Warlock wasn't
Yikes.
good. I feel like you need to put more effort in it than just
Are
logging
you
on.
saying
it. I
Mario's
don't know.
not putting in the effort, Sid?
Well, I mean, at the time, if you're managing that many classes, probably not as much effort as the other specs. But I mean, if he wants to benefit his team the most, then it would make a lot of sense to play Mage, Warlock, and Moonkin, and then just be the caster. I mean, even at that point, learn Shadow Priest, just pick up all the ranged classes. I think the main reason that Mage and Warlock players don't always line up is that Warlock is more focused around dealing damage, at least historically, for the most part, and then Mage is more focused around control. So a Mage that switches to a Warlock might be really good at fearing, but not so good at maxing out their damage, and then a Warlock that switches to Mage might be really good at doing damage, but not so good at controlling. I think that would be the main reason. So if a player can do control and damage, then they're gonna be able to jump between pretty easily.
Who do you guys think the best multi-classer is out of this match, out of the two teams here? I'm curious. Your thoughts?
No one really multi-classes that much. Well, let's think about it. Walrix doesn't multi-class. Alec doesn't multi-class. I mean, we've seen him play Moonkin a little bit. It would have to be between the healers, right?
Asgarath or Nixie? Actually, I would argue that it's Nixie.
I feel like
What about Zuniaki? This guy's played Warrior at BlizzCon. He's played Mystery Monk, Priest, Shadow Priest. Like, I don't know. I think
I was
Zuniaki's
gonna
pretty
say
solid.
Nixie plays a lot
Yeah,
of
he's
melee
solid.
classes, but Zuni, I feel like back when I used to track stats for these guys, Zuni had series on almost every healer except for like Holy Priest, which, you know. All right. Okay. Well.
I don't know. I feel like it's one thing to play every healer, and it's another thing to have success on every healer. Like, if you told me Looney, I would say, okay, cool. But Zuni, I feel like he is a master, a god tier priest, one of the absolute best in the world. And on his monk, he's solid as well. But I wouldn't want to, I wouldn't trust him with my life if you paladin, for example. You know? Whereas with Nixie, if I played with his warrior, I'd trust it. If I play with his Windwalker, I would trust it. If I play with his rogue, I would trust it, you know? There's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So Nixie's like kind of the X factor on ABC. Like, you don't see him that often, but when he comes in, he shines.
And you know, someone that may be new to watching AWC as well maybe thinks that all these teams, most of these teams have 4 players, and they're seeing one player usually being sitting off. It has nothing to do with the fact that they may not be as good this season. It's just that, like, Mage Lock with ABC, for example, is just so good right now. Nixie is a super good player, but they just don't really have any comps, especially against nLite, that's really viable for this series.
Yeah, and it's the same thing on the side of nLite. They have
Right.
Kara. And here's a little fun piece of information. Kara was on ABC when they won BlizzCon. So on the side of nLite, their bench warmer, who had played like one series in the last year, is actually one of the best players in the world.
Well, it's like Cloud9 with
He's
Snuck,
actually, in
right?
my opinion, the best rat, at least in Europe. I can't speak of NA, but for sure in Europe, he is up there.
All right, well, last game of the day here. It's tied up 2-2. nLite versus ABC. Who will be knocked out of the tournament, and who will we be able to see play again on Sunday?
We're going to have to wait and see. No, actually, not going to have to wait too long. There's only one game left. Fear onto Cassidy, interrupt onto Alec. Both teams looking to get aggressive starts. Polymorph onto Facile. And no craft control on Zuniaki just yet. Alec taking a huge burst of damage by Facile. Walrus landing a nice Fear. Intimidation stun now over onto Asgarath. Is there going to be any follow-up? Unfortunately, there is not. And Asgarath should be able to easily bounce Alec's health back to full.
Good stabilization here with the Avenging Wrath by Asgarath. Asgarath moving towards Zuniaki. Zuniaki moves very far away into the starting area, wants to be max range from the Paladin at all costs, as he did go down in the last game. He doesn't want to leave that as an opportunity, but Walrick slips through and finds a Fear. Cassidy jumps into the room to line of sight right as the Mortal Coil was midair. Nice play by Cassidy. Here comes the swap onto Zuniaki, though. Is he ready? Full stun lock, Trinket Life Cocoon immediately. And it seems like if he gets caught in that situation again, he's likely to just outright die. He needs to play out of his mind here for that next attempt. Double stun, good counter push at least towards Alec and Walrix. They go for the freezing trap, dispelled off immediately, but still very low on health. Divine Favor, Holy Light. Alec and Walrus trying to get pulled back into the fight. Zuni is going to be playing so far away here from the Paladin. If he gets anywhere near Asgarath, that could be it for him. They do have good pressure, though. A counterspell on Zuniaki slips through while Alec is on such low health. Can they pressure Cassidy away? Cassidy just going in. He doesn't care. Stun on Asgarath, stun on Alec, looking to push for that Cauterize. Nice crackling Jade Lightning, getting that mark of Mystic Touch up, but only a sacrifice, not going to be the Cauterize. Cassidy going to duck for cover, run away from the Warlock during Dark Soul. That is the name of the game, but Facile gets caught out. He pre-lingering Psychic Shells that stun, reducing a lot of damage, and is line of sighting at the ramp. Cassidy gets stunned out in midfield, but Alec and Walrus are already stunned, so not going to get a lot of value there. Dragon's Breath into Polymorph. They don't have the Hammer of Justice to switch, so they're stuck on Cassidy at the moment. Cassidy jumps over to stun Alec on the next Polymorph, but it's a little bit too early. He does get the second Polymorph, but he's just healing in the room. Walrus can't get in line of sight. Cassidy's not going to take too much damage here. Likely nLite are going to wait for Avenging Wrath to subside before making another push, but they might not have the choice of waiting as ABC push forward.
Oh, there's no way this is going to be enough to kill Zuni. He actually did end up using his Fortifying Brew right there. Doesn't want to take any chances. That was the combustion of Alec right there. Zuni now is going to have his trinket. So what we can expect to happen is Warwick's dropping an Infernal Stun into a Hammer of Justice onto Zuni, and that's going to force his trinket again. If they can get Zuni's trinket without using that Infernal Stun, it's going to allow them to set up the kill much easier. So we're going to keep an eye out for that, but for now, Cassidy is the one on the back foot. Vitality Conduit comes through for Zuni, and he is going to be completely fine in that situation. Now Alec taking decent damage. If Facile looking for the trap here, maybe not going to be able to find it. Instead, he's just going to pull back, and this is something that Facile does. He activates his offensive cooldown, and then he just hugs a pillar and kills you with range. And it's actually a very nice way to do damage without actually taking damage. Swapsy trademark, and there it is. Full sheep into a full Hammer of Justice. Do they have the damage? Mortal Coil, there it is.
Wow.
Infernal Stun, getting trinketed right there. If Warwick's would have Mortal Coiled, I don't know if he actually had it. He has it right now, though. If he Mortal Coiled right there, that would have been Zuni's trinket still, and then they could have used the Infernal Stun to secure the game they did last game. ABC are looking a lot better right now, man.
Oh, they're looking so good. I mean, this is looking like literally a different team than the first couple matchups we saw, so really good job by ABC. They have nLite on the back foot, and they are really pushing the pace. I mean, Zuniaki has barely survived multiple setups, and I think it's going to be a rinse and repeat here for ABC. Just continue to do these setups onto Zuniaki, make it really difficult for him to, trade out his defensive cooldowns. And even if he gets them off, it's seeming like they have enough burst to potentially take him down.
Ooh.
Nice interrupt there by Alec, mixing it up a little bit. Cassie's just going to be looking to line of sight, and they're actually pushing forward once again onto Zuniaki. Vision of Perfection, the Hammer of Justice. They need the damage, though. I don't know if it is it. One Chaos Bolt lands, potentially second. It looks like Zuniaki will survive. There's a Blessing of Protection on the Dark Soul from Walrick just so he could get off those Chaos Bolts, and it still wasn't enough. So ABC, they traded out a lot of their defense to try to make that work, and unfortunately it didn't pay off.
Alec got left behind. Cassidy in trouble. Alec as well. Damage traded on both sides. Cassidy going to run around the center pillar. Alec trying to chase him, and he should be able to as Asgrath stabilizes the team. Another almost lethal setup. Shadow Fury catches Zuniaki out in midfield. Not nearly long enough of a crowd control, though, to kill the Mistweaver. Zuniaki going to cheat Torpedo back out of line of sight. Facile just ramping up damage. Cassidy managed to re-stealth, find a stun on Alec. That's a lot of extra damage as well. Asgrath's Hammer of Justice gets dispelled. Now he's stunned up on his Divine Favor. Polymorphs desperately by Alec onto Facile, dispelled instantly by Zuni. nLite going to retreat. They got the sacrifice. Asgrath was maybe a bit afraid of that situation. Looks like he could roll up in that back room and drink. He's just repositioning. Getting his team back to full health as both teams take a moment of pause, waiting for this crowd control diminishing returns. Curious to see if they still stick to the Zuniaki strategy as he's got his Glidier's Medallion available. Alec double blinks in for a Polymorph. They could swap to Zuni. They stun Asgrath. He breaks. Are they going to swap? They're going after Cassidy. I love this swap. Nice Infernal Stun on the Trinket. Lingering Psychic Shell, though, activates for Cassidy. And it's unlikely that we see him go down during that assault, but they did get his Gladiator's Medallion. And Asgrath now to Paralyze.
Big push here onto Alec. But I don't think they have the damage here. Asgraf has his wings active, so he's going to be doing increased healing in that situation. But I do like what ABC are doing right now. They're trying to force Zuni to trinket something, a crowd control or something that's not the Infernal Stun, so that they can set up a kill on him later. Asgraf, though, have to use his bubble here. Warwick's lobbing out 2 Chaos Bolts. Could just solo him. Nice rake stun there by Cassidy. Throwing out the regrowths there as well. Holding on not only to Zuniaki's trinket, but also to his Fort Brew. So big push there, and that was the bubble of Asgraf here. So ABC playing extremely aggressive in this game, could come back and cause them some troubles later on. Zuni now in another poly, Cassidy already in bear form, waiting here, and now he's gonna wait for the CC to almost end, and then he's gonna get aggressive here, look to apply some of those gushings. Warwick's getting a fear. Asgraf looking for the Hammer of Justice, entangling roots plus freezing trap, no imp available. Alec surely is gonna have to ice block here if he doesn't do a great job kiting. I think that was a temporal shield. I'm not sure if he combined it with a health stone as well right there, but Alec is going to survive that push, and now once again ABC are gonna look to get aggressive.
Definitely 13% dampening stun on Zuniaki once again. Are they going for crowd control or damage? It looks like crowd control, but a beautiful, counter aggression there by Cassidy. Gets the double stun. Preemptive Vitality Conduit on Cassidy as well. Really great plays there by Zuniaki. nLite doing an excellent job. And it's like I said at the beginning of this match, it's going to be about nLite avoiding these one-shots at all costs. And if they can do it, the slow pressure of the jungle is going to eventually overwhelm ABC and all their defensive cooldowns, but they have to get to that point, and that is not an easy thing to do. Hammer of Justice on the Dispel from Zuniaki as Alec pushes in. Polymorph secured. Nicely done there by Alec, but they need damage, and it looks like Cassie's just looking to punish him. Dress to Gath lands. Alec forced to use a Temporal Shield, almost using the Cauterize as well. A second Dress to Gath. Alec trinkets out. He's just going to be kiting, avoiding, imminent doom at this point. And I can't believe, and I'm sure nLite can't believe, that Alec didn't even have to use his Cauterize in that exchange.
That was a trinket sack of Asgraf, though.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Vitality Conduit on Cassidy. He's feared. I would say at this point, the ABC are falling behind. They need to get something going on Zuniaki. Infernal Stun. Beautiful timing on that life. Could actually break Life Cocoon. Are they going to kill him? Do they have the Mortal Coil? They Mortal Coil out. He has to trinket the Mortal Coil. He doesn't want to gamble his life there on the combustion. Bit insane that they almost killed him there as he slipped the Life Cocoon in between the stun lock. This is definitely a winning strategy for ABC if they can keep it up, but deeper into dampening we go. Those gushing wounds become more and more threatening. Cassidy just ramping up some damage on Alec. He's getting blasted by Chaos Bolts, though, and now has to Survival Instinct. He's caught in a stun. He has to trinket. If he had just been running away, I feel like the situation wouldn't have spiraled out of control like that for Cassidy. Now, once again, trying to get out onto Alec and pressure him. Asgraf's trying to drink. Are they going to trade Cauterize and block for a drink? If they can hold on to it, it would be so good for them. Asgraf comes back with a Blessing of Protection instead. They get the Cauterize anyway through it with the magic damage and the block!
Wow.
Alec respecting that a lot, and they are super far behind. If they make a push on Zuniaki's life, they are going to be risking their own.
Look at Alec. He's got no Cauterize, no Ice Block, no Blessing of Protection, no Sacrifice. ABC, they don't have anything. This next attempt by nLite could easily just be the game, but they just need to get the crowd control onto Asgraf, get the damage rolling on Alec, but it's not going to be easy. Warwick, of course, he does have some offensive cooldowns with the Mortal Coil. He can try to defuse the situation. Here it is. Full Polymorph on Zuniaki. Big damage on Cassidy, potentially, but a preemptive Survival Instinct from Cassidy should keep him alive. Beautifully done by Cassidy on that Feral Druid. Defensive plays. I think he will survive, and now it's going to be ABC on the back foot.
That was the checkmate position right there of ABC. No trinket on Zuni, no trinket on Cassidy. And Asgraf is stacking that Ineffable Truth, so his trinket is just rotating back up on like a minute cooldown. This guy is literally playing adaptation at this point. Cassidy gonna duck for cover with that Life Cocoon. Zuniaki once again preemptive Life Cocoon. Alec looking to set up a setup here onto Zuni. He's getting a poly. I would expect him to go for a greater pyro out of it. There's the Chaos Bolt onto Zuni. No greater pyroblast though. No way to have enough damage here. Combustion is gonna activate onto Zuni. He's gonna get that Roar of Sacrifice, and then Alec is gonna swap over to Cassidy, who doesn't have that buff, and he's gonna get full value out of his combustion that way. But still, that checkmate position that they had on the side of ABC is now gone. Asgraf now randomly have his bubble and his trinket back up though because of that Ineffable Truth. So another attempt here. Combustion not available, but another sheep is gonna be secured. Mortal Coil coming out here. here. Cassidy, though, with the perfect coil pathing, he's going to be able to line of sight everyone and potentially even go for a re-stealth. Zuni, though, could be in trouble. No preemptive anything at this point. Nice backup here from Cassidy. Rake stunning Alec, stunning up Warwick's, kicking Warwick's. Zuni's going to come out of the stun, be completely fine. And honestly, right now, it just feels like nLite are just trying more and more to survive. They did force Alec's cooldowns, so they need to try to force Asgraf's cooldowns before Alec gets his Cauterize and his Ice Block back up.
Oh, full polymorph. But Alex on the back foot. Big heals in from Asgraf. Facile on the run. Feign Deathing some damage there, but still needs to pick him up. Popping that Zen Focus T, looking to avoid interrupts and stabilize Facile as soon as possible. Half diminishing return. Now they swap the Zuni and the Hammer. Facile pre-aspects of the turtle, and he avoided quite a lot of damage. But that's a Dark Soul Chaos Bolt, number 1. Number 2 not going to be found. Zuniaki line of sighting. nLite just need to hold on for a few more moments before their Gushing Wounds are going to be overwhelming for Asgraf. They're line of sighting the Dark Soul. Oh, but a blink counterspell from Alec might be lights out. Double Shadow Fury, Chaos Bolt, casted in the sky onto Cassidy. He's going to put that Survival Instincts. Lingering Psychic Shell from Facile. They're trying to stay on target. A minute away from Alec's Ice Block again. They have to balance both defense and offense perfectly, but they're on the back foot, retreating, running for cover. Asgraf moves in on the right, Walrick's on the left. Alec in middle. Very difficult for them to navigate. Cassidy goes for an aggressive interrupt into a stun onto Asgarath. Now he's leaving Facile alone. Walrus is blasting him. They stun up Walrus. Cassidy rolls over to dot him up and then probably retreat right back to the pillar and let the dots do the work here. They're all in trouble here on the side of nLite. This is looking a lot like Dalaran Sewers. At any point, nLite could fall over. They retreat back to the room. They don't want to be out in midfield, but they've got nowhere else to retreat to. They're pinned back against the wall here on match point. He pre-life cocoons the Hammer of Justice on himself, but I think they're going to go after Cassidy. Chaos Bolt's out the back of the Mortal Coil, not able to be disrupted. Cassidy gets blasted. Warwick is still low, though. He's not trading the trade sacrifice. Cassidy now running for cover in the room, trying to recover with Zuniaki, but Counterspell is available. If Alec lands that Counterspell, it could be a KO. Asgarath trying to pull his team back up into the fight here and recover. It's anyone's match on Game 5.
Well, let's see. What can they get done here? Asgarath going for the Holy Light, getting bashed up, immediately bubbling. Warwick's in massive trouble, gets the Blessing of Protection, and Cassidy is going to take that trade and run with it. But Zuni could go down there. Any kind of CC onto Zuni could be enough to take Cassidy down, and anything onto Zuni could be enough to take him down. Full counterspell secured here. Alec looking to make the game-winning play. Dragon's Breath, full polymorph secured, and that could just be Cassidy's life. No survival instinct for 12 seconds. Alec looking to solo carry the Game 5 here, and he is able to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, ABC is going to take game number 5 at 53% dampening. Beautiful stuff there coming out of Alec.